The day my CEO wife threw me out, Catherine Sterling tossed an Amex black card at my face. "There's $500,000 in there. Take your kid and get out." I was still dazed, having just woken up in this life, in this body. But my son Leo, who stood beside me, caught the card in midair and shoved it right back into her hand. His voice was small but steady, every word clear. "My dad says we should keep things classy. No alimony necessary." I stared at him, stunned. "What?" He hugged my leg and gave me a quick wink. "Come on, Dad, let's go." I already found 3 awesome preschools. The teachers there are nice and actually read stories in like this Ice Queen. For the first time, I saw Catherine's perfect icy focaccia crack. And for the first time in this new life, I laughed. The dumpster fire of this divorce wasn't burning me after all. I carried Leo out of that sterile mansion, the heavy front door slamming shut behind us like the lid of a tomb. It sealed off an entire world. The air outside tasted like freedom. Leo snuggled into my arms and whispered, "We finally made it out, Dad." I patted his back. "Yeah, kiddo, we're out." The memories of the man whose life I'd inherited were a mess of booze, gambling, and failure. The only thing he'd ever done right was have this son. Between us, we had exactly $4,750 in cash. So much for Catherine's idea of classy. We found a shoebox apartment in the city's old industrial district. The paint was peeling and yellowed, but it had one huge window that flooded the room with sunlight. Leo showed none of the entitlement you'd expect from a kid raised in a mansion. Instead, he bounced on the small bed, full of excitement. "This is our secret base, Dad. No one can boss us around anymore, right?" A pang of sadness hit me. What kind of life had this boy been living? "That's right," I said softly. "From now on, Dad's in charge."
Oh.
I set down our single suitcase and started to think. For 3 years, the old me had lived like a ghost in her world, a kept man finally kicked to the curb. But I'm not him. I'm Ethan Hayes, and in my past life, I ran a 3 Michelin star kitchen. The food scene in this world? Amateur hour. I looked out the window at the small plaza below, where people gathered every evening. An idea sparked a food cart. I turned to Leo, who was still rolling on the bed. "Hey kiddo, want to eat amazing food every single day?" His eyes lit up. "Yeah. We're going to sell amazing food and make all the other kids jealous." Leo pumped his little fist in the air, glowing with excitement. "Okay, we'll make tons of money and then find you the prettiest, nicest lady in the world to be my new mom." I couldn't help but smile. "All right then. Let's do this." I decided to start with the simplest dish, the true test of any chef's skill, a perfect rice bowl. I even had a name for it. The Heartbreak Bowl. That first day, I invested everything we had. I bought a beat-up utility cart and basic cooking tools, then set up just outside a downtown high-rise. Nothing comforts a burnt-out office worker like a hot meal after a long day. As dusk fell, parked the cart and turned on a single dim bulb. The sizzle of pork belly hitting the hot pan filled the air, sweet and savory aromas mixing with the rich scent of meat. Meanwhile, back in that cold mansion, Catherine Sterling stood before her floor 2 ceiling windows. Watching security footage of us leaving, her assistant murmured, "Ms. Sterling, they rented a place in the warehouse district. It's grim." Catherine swirled her red wine with a mocking smile. She was certain that within 3 days, I'd come crawling back, son, and toe-begging for forgiveness. Half an hour into my first night, I still had 0 customers. People walked by, curious, but didn't stop. I didn't mind. I focused on my craft. Leo sat calmly beside me on a stool, his little legs swinging back and forth. Finally, a young woman with a messy bun and tired eyes stopped, drawn in by the aroma. "Excuse me? What is that?" "The Heartbreak Bowl," I said. $18. She hesitated, steep for street food. I scooped half a portion into a small bowl and handed it to her. "Try it. If you don't love it, it's free." Her eyes went wide. The rice was perfectly cooked, each grain coated in glossy sauce. The pork belly melted on her tongue, bursting with sweet and savory flavor. She froze in disbelief. Leo hopped off his stool and looked up at her proudly. My dad's food is the best in the universe, right? She blinked, then nodded vigorously. Yes. Oh my God, yes. Leo puffed out his chest. If you come back every day, I'll give you a special hug every day. She melted instantly, laughing as she pulled out her phone. I have to post this to my Insta story. What is this magical food cart? She bought 2 bowls, one to eat, one to take home. Before leaving, she bent down to hug Leo. Bye-bye, new friend, he said with a grin. That first customer led to the second, then the third. The smell and her Instagram story did the advertising for me. Soon, a line formed in front of the cart. Leo fully embraced his new role as my PR manager. He even made up his own rule. Only pretty ladies get hugs. Uncles just buy food. No touching. A burly construction worker tried to test him. Come on, little man. How about I'll buy an extra bowl if I can get a hug, the man joked. Leo crossed his arms, his face full of mock seriousness. No, you look too grumpy. You'll scare me. The crowd burst into laughter, and even the man chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck in defeat. The line kept growing, half for the food, half for the entertainment from my brutally honest little hype man. Before long, an influencer with a selfie stick pushed her way to the front. Hey guys, your girl is live. Tonight we're checking out this new food spot that everyone's talking about. Apparently it's run by a super hot owner and an adorable kid selling rice bowls. Before she could finish, Leo pointed straight at her. Your filter's working overtime, lady. You don't look that good in real life. The influencer's face froze. Her livestream chat exploded with laughter. Elmo's ruthless. This kid's a legend. Show us the brutally honest kid. To her credit, she recovered fast. She aimed the camera at Leo. Well, sweetie, do you think the ladies watching my stream are pretty? Leo flashed his $1 million smile straight at the lens. Totally. And my dad's single and ready to mingle. We're taking applications for a new mom. Requirements: must be pretty, must be nice, and must know how to cook. Anyone who looks like an ice queen like my last mom gets an automatic rejection. The stream went viral instantly. A clip of a 5-year-old trying to find his dad a new wife shot straight to the top of local Twitter trends. I looked at Leo, charming the crowd like a professional entertainer, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This kid was something else. By the end of the night, we'd cleared over $4,000. After packing up, I took him to the store to buy a pack of Pokemon cards he'd been wanting. He held it tight, but didn't open it instead. He tucked it carefully into his pocket like a treasure. I figured he was saving it for later. But the next day, the girl with the messy bun came back. She'd become our #1 fan. Leo pulled her aside and pressed the pack of cards into her hand. This is for you. Chloe, you were the first person to buy my dad's food. Chloe, a nurse, was taken aback and tried to refuse, but Leo's little face turned serious. My dad says we have to repay kindness. You have to take it in. You have to come back every day. I watched them, warmth spreading through my chest. The kid was a better man than I'd ever been. The power of going viral is something else. The next day our cart was mobbed with customers, and somewhere across town, Catherine Sterling couldn't sit still anymore. Her assistant stood before her, holding a tablet. Miss Sterling, Ethan, and Leo have become an internet sensation. By all accounts, their business is thriving. They don't appear to be struggling at all. Catherine scrolled through the feed photos of me surrounded by smiling women and videos of Leo laughing in strangers' arms. Her grip on her phone tightened. This wasn't struggling. This was flourishing. She had expected us to come crawling back, desperate and broken. She never imagined we'd start a new life overnight and have the audacity to publicly recruit. Her replacement, a cold fire burned in her eyes. She snatched up her car keys. Get the car. The black Maybach rolled into the gritty food truck alley like a panther walking into a petting zoo. Catherine stepped out in a designer suit and 4-inch heels. Her powerful presence silencing the entire street. She had imagined this reunion 1,000 times in every version. I'd be shocked, humbled, maybe even begging. But when she appeared, I barely looked up. I flipped the pork belly on the grill, glanced at her once, went back to work, as if she were just another stranger. That quiet indifference made her face flush with fury. She wasn't used to being ignored. Leo spotted her instantly. He wriggled out of Chloe's arms and planted himself in front of me like a tiny guard dog, arms spread wide. Danger zone. Stay 10 feet away from my dad. His small voice carried pure hostility. Catherine's composure finally cracked. Leo, come here. I am your mother, she snapped, her voice trembling with anger. Leo didn't move. Instead, he turned to the watching crowd and shouted, Everyone, look, it's the evil woman who threw her husband and son out on the street. Now she's here because our business is doing great, and she wants to ruin it. My dad works day and night to feed me, and she still wants to bully us. The crowd gasped. So that's the dad from the viral video. His ex is gorgeous, but her heart's made of stone. You think you can bully people just because you drive a fancy car? The murmurs hit Catherine like 1,000 tiny needles. She stood frozen in the middle of the crowd, humiliated and exposed. And through it all, I never looked at her. I handed Chloe a freshly made heartbreak bowl and said, Just loud enough for Catherine to hear? Try this one. I added extra honey to the glaze for you today. The warmth in my tone was something Catherine had never received. Under the weight of the crowd's stares and my calm smile, we finally broke. She turned and fled back to her car, gripping the steering wheel so tightly the veins stood out on her hands. She couldn't understand how everything had spun so far out of her control. In the car, she spoke into her phone, her voice icy and sharp. Make his little food cart disappear. Immediately, there was no emotion left in her tone, just pure venom. She wouldn't allow me to be this happy, and she'd never let Leo call another woman mom. The next day, just as I finished setting up, a group of city health inspectors surrounded my cart. The man in charge looked grim. We've received a complaint. You're operating without a license, and your sanitation is below standard. We're shutting you down. The customers and other vendors froze, but I wasn't surprised. This was exactly what Catherine would do. I calmly wiped my hands, reached into the hidden compartment under the cart, and pulled out a folder of documents. Officer, I said, here's my business license, my food handler's permit, and my health certificate. All my ingredients were purchased fresh this morning from certified suppliers. The receipts were all there. I laid the papers out. One by one, everything was perfectly organized, more complete than any street vendor should have been. The head inspector stared in disbelief. In all his years, he had never seen a mobile food cart with such flawless documentation. My regular customers quickly snapped out of their shock and rushed forward. Why are you shutting him down? One shouted. Ethan's the cleanest vendor on this block, another added. We eat here every day. No one's ever gotten sick. This is how he supports his kid. You can't just take that away. Chloe pushed her way through the crowd to stand in front of me. You can't do this, she said firmly. You need real proof. Leo, sensing his moment, turned on his inner drama king. He grabbed the lead inspector's leg and started crying his heart out. Mister, please don't take my daddy away. If you shut us down, we'll have to sleep under a bridge and beg for food. Why? I don't want to be a beggar. He was crying so hard, even a statue would have softened. I took a deep breath, sighing for effect as I looked at the crowd. Well, I said, shaking my head, that's what happens when you anger a rich and powerful ex-wife. She's living in a mansion, driving a Maybach, and still can't stand to see me and my son have one good day. That one line lit the crowd on fire. Their anger turned instantly toward the inspectors. So you're just doing a rich lady's dirty work now? This is corruption. Straight up bullying the little guy. I'm recording this. This is going online. The lead inspector started sweating bullets. He had only gotten a quick call from someone above, told to run a routine inspection. He never expected to kick a hornet's nest like this. If this went viral, his job would be toast. It's a misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding. He stammered, trying to calm the furious crowd while shooting me a pleading look. In the end, he and his team scrambled away in the Maybach parked nearby. Across the street, Catherine watched the whole chaotic scene through a pair of binoculars, trembling with rage. For the first time, she realized that all the money and power she was so proud of meant nothing against the raw, unpredictable energy of the people. Of course, someone recorded everything. The clip hit the internet under a clickbait title, "Vengeful CEO Ex-Wife Tries to Crush Ex-Husband's Food Cart Gets Wrecked by Loyal Customers." The video went viral. My calm attitude, Leo's crying. Performance, the crowd's righteous fury, and the inspector's pathetic retreat. It was the perfect storm. My image as the wronged but devoted single father was solidified. Business exploded. People started driving in from other neighborhoods, not just for the food, but to support me, and curse the cold-hearted ex who'd tried to destroy me. Catherine had lost, and lost badly. 2 humiliating defeats sent her spiraling into confusion. She couldn't understand how a man who was once such a failure had suddenly changed the moment he left her. She ordered her assistant to investigate everything. My finances, social media, spending habits. The report stunned her. The old Ethan had wasted money on bars and online casinos. The new Ethan spent only on groceries, ingredients, toys, and snacks for Leo. No drinking, no gambling. It was like I'd become a completely different man. Desperate for answers, Catherine went to her family estate. Her grandfather, Leo's great-grandfather, had always adored the boy. At dinner, he looked at his troubled granddaughter and sighed. "Catherine, my dear, is there some misunderstanding between you and Ethan?" She said nothing, gripping her fork tightly. The old man nodded to his butler, who brought her a manila folder. "Take a look at this." Catherine opened it. Inside was a report and several clear photos. The images showed me with a glamorous woman outside a hotel, proof she had thought of my betrayal. It was that very photo that had destroyed our marriage. But the report said otherwise. The pictures were fake-generated deepfakes, commissioned by her business rival, Marcus Thorne. The woman was an actress he had hired. I had been framed from the start. Catherine's hands shook as she stared at the photos. She had been wrong. She had personally destroyed her own marriage, condemning me for something I never did. Her thoughts went to Leo. He used to flinch away from me like a scared kitten. Now he stood guard like a fierce little soldier. Guilt-trial, crushing guilt filled her chest for the first time. She wanted to make things right, but she didn't know how. The only thing she could use was money, so she anonymously ordered a custom-built, top-of-the-line food truck worth 6 figures and had it delivered straight to my stall. It was sleek, modern, and fully equipped. The delivery guy just said, "It's from a lady who wishes to remain anonymous." I looked at the shiny new truck and smiled faintly. Then I took out my phone and posted in our customer group chat. "Thank you all for your amazing support. We're doing a raffle today. Grand Prix, brand new luxury food truck. Your receipt from today's order is your entry ticket." The group chat exploded with excitement. I gave the truck away as a customer appreciation gift, adding a small note. "I can't accept gifts from people I don't know. Bad karma? Cross town?" Catherine's assistant showed her the post. She read those words, "Don't know where they came from," and felt a sharp pain in her chest. For the first time, she realized the truth. She didn't know me at all. The luxury food truck ended up being won by Chloe the nurse. Naturally, she refused to keep it. In the end, we agreed to sell it and donate all the money to a local children's hospital. After that, Chloe and I grew closer. She started stopping by after her hospital shifts to help out at the cart. Wasn't like Catherine, who probably had never touched a raw vegetable in her entire life. Chloe would help me prep ingredients, pour water for customers waiting in line. And she made a killer fresh squeezed lemonade. Leo was completely smitten. He stopped calling her Chloe and switched to Mama Chloe. One day Catherine showed up again. But this time, she wasn't in her power suit. She wore a simple pair of jeans and a sweater. No makeup. She stood quietly at the very back of the line, looking like any ordinary customer. When it was finally her turn, she looked down and said, softly, her voice trembling a little, "1 heartbreak bowl, please." I was about to serve her when Leo came skipping up to the front holding Chloe's hand. His voice rang out full of excitement. "Daddy, look, Mama Chloe's here to help us again. Her lemonade is the best in the whole wide world."
Heartbreak.
The words Mama Chloe made Catherine freeze. Chloe's face flushed bright red as she tried to hush him. "Leo, honey, don't say that." But Leo just hugged her leg tighter and shot Catherine a defiant look. I don't care. You're my mama, Chloe. You're a million times better than someone who only drinks ice water and doesn't even know when her own son is sick. His words were childish, but sharp enough to cut deep. Catherine's face went pale. I didn't step in. I just smiled, ruffled Leo's hair, and took a cup of lemonade from Chloe's hand. Thanks. You're a lifesaver, I said gently, my tone soft, my eyes warm. Catherine saw it all. She stood there watching the three of us, me, Chloe, and Leo. We looked happy, natural, like a real family. And she was the outsider now. A bitter wave of jealousy rose in her chest. Her fists clenched so tightly her nails dug into her palms. The appetite she'd come with was gone. Without a word, she turned and walked away, her retreat quick and shaky, almost pathetic. Back in her vast, empty mansion, she locked herself in her home office. For the first time in her life, she canceled all her evening meetings. She just sat there in the dark all night long. She didn't understand. She was Leo's mother, so why was he calling someone else mom? And even worse, why did seeing me smile at another woman feel like a punch to the chest? That night, Catherine made a decision. She was done watching from the sidelines. She spent the entire night on Google, searching 100 ways to win back your ex. The next day, her awkward campaign began. Tactic 1: flowers. A delivery truck pulled up and unloaded 999 red roses, forming a literal mountain of flowers in front of my cart. The card was signed in bold letters, "Ethan, can we start over?" Catherine Sterling. She signed it big, like she wanted the whole world to see. I grabbed the small megaphone I used for crowd control. "My ex-wife is trying to win me back with flowers," I announced. "But I'm not interested. So, as a thank you to all my beautiful customers, every lady gets a free rose today. Share the love." The crowd erupted in cheers. The women swarmed forward, each grabbing a rose, dismantling the grand gesture one stem at a time. Down the street, watching from her car, Catherine's face darkened. Tactic 2: the buyout. She sent her assistant with a blank check. "Miss Sterling would like to book your services for the evening," the assistant said. "She wants you to cook a private meal just for her." I slid the check right back across the counter. "My food's for people who are genuinely hungry, not for someone who thinks money can buy anything. If she wants to eat, she can get in line like everyone else." The assistant left. Defeated Tactic 3: the accidental encounter. Catherine started showing up every day, dressed to kill in designer outfits and heels, pretending to help. The results were disasters. She spilled an entire bottle of my signature glaze. She nearly slipped on a patch of grease. I had to catch her. Leo gave her a nickname. It's the troublemaker. He even made a troublemaker's diary and taped it to the side of my cart. In his crooked handwriting it read, "Monday, the troublemaker spilled the sauce." Dad's face got dark. Tuesday, the troublemaker almost fell down. Dad caught her. She blushed. So dumb. Wednesday, the troublemaker tried to cut an onion and started crying. She cries more than me. The diary became the street's newest attraction. People came by just to see the latest entry. Through all that public embarrassment, Catherine somehow grew a thicker skin. Then she tried to win over Leo. She brought him the newest Lego sets, the priciest remote control cars. Leo would take them, then hand them off to the neighbor kids. "I outgrew these basic toys when I was 3, he'd say smugly. She even tried reading him bedtime stories, desperate to feel like his mom again. She sat by his bed, opened a storybook, and began to read in her usual corporate monotone. Our company's third quarter earnings report shows a year-over-year growth of 15%. Leo fell asleep halfway through, clutching the teddy bear Chloe had given him, watching this once untouchable woman fumble through one awkward attempt after another. I didn't feel revenge. It was just absurdly funny. That night, she was clumsily washing vegetables again. She must have been exhausted from standing in heels, because she stumbled on the knife in her hand, slipped, heading straight for her fingers. My body moved on instinct. I lunged forward, grabbed her wrist. Her skin was warm, soft. The knife clattered to the floor. We both froze. It was the first time we'd touched since the divorce. I could smell her perfume cold. It's faint, mixed with a hint of kitchen grease. The air between us went still. That accidental touch seemed to melt something between us. After that, Catherine stopped with her grand over-the-top gestures. She just started showing up quietly, helping in small ways, packing orders, wiping down the counter. She was still awkward, but at least she wasn't a walking disaster anymore. For a while, things felt calm. Peaceful even. Then Marcus Thorne appeared. Thorne, Catherine's corporate rival, was the one who framed me with those fake photos. When he heard that Catherine was chasing after a street vendor, he took it as a personal insult. To him, it was impossible to believe that the man he once mocked and humiliated someone Catherine had thrown awake could ever win her heart again. Fueled by jealousy, he decided to destroy me completely. One afternoon, a man wearing a baseball cap and face mask came to my food cart. He ordered a bowl, took 2 bites, then suddenly jumped up shouting and slammed the bowl onto the pavement. "What the hell? There's a cockroach in my food," he yelled, pointing at the shattered bowl. Amid the mess lay a dead cockroach. The crowd gasped. He pulled out his phone and started filming. "This place is disgusting. The famous heartbreak bowl comes with a side of roaches." Within minutes, the video went viral. Overnight, I went from being the beloved single dad chef to a careless street cook with no hygiene. The health department showed up and shut my cart down, slapping a bright yellow notice across the side. But even as everything collapsed, I stayed calm. I knew this was Thorne's doing. Leo cried harder than I'd ever seen. Not because we couldn't sell food, but because he knew I'd been wronged. He hugged my leg, his small body shaking. "They're bad people, Daddy. Your food is clean." "Are we going to be beggars now?" I lifted him up, wiped his tears, and said coldly, "No, Leo. No one's going to bully us." Chloe rushed over the moment she heard. She didn't ask questions. She just said quietly, "Ethan, I believe you." When Catherine saw the news, she instantly knew Thorne was behind it. Rage burned through her. He could attack her and she'd fight back, but going after her family was unforgivable. She called him directly. "Was this you?" she demanded. Thorne laughed smugly. Well, Catherine, I just wanted you to see the kind of trash you're running after. A pathetic bug I can crush anytime. I'd stay away from him if I were you. Next time, the cockroach might not be in his food." It was a direct threat. Catherine hung up, trembling. But she didn't call me. She didn't post anything online. She walked into her office, called an emergency meeting, and gave one order: activate every contingency plan. I want Thorne Industries gone within 3 days. Thorne thought he had already won, waiting for me to crumble and for Catherine to come crawling to him. But he underestimated 2 things. I wasn't the same weak man from 3 years ago, and he had just awakened a sleeping dragon. From day one, I had installed a tiny 360 pinhole camera on my cart for insurance. It captured everything: the man in the cap dropping the cockroach from his pocket before pretending to find it. I didn't call the police. I decided to fight back in public. That night, I went live on social media. Calmly, I showed my spotless kitchen, every ingredient sealed and labeled. Then, I played the unedited footage. Millions of viewers watched the setup unfold. The comment section exploded. "That guy planted it. Total setup. Justice for Heartbreak Bowl." The hashtag hit #1 nationwide. At the same time, Catherine launched a full-scale financial attack. She exposed Thorne's fraud and tax evasion, leaked the evidence to the SEC, and teamed up with hedge funds to short his stock. By morning, Thorne's company had collapsed. Federal agents raided his headquarters. When my cart reopened, the line was twice as long. People didn't just come to eat, they came to support. "Hang in there, man," they said. I knew Catherine had a lot to do with that. She sat quietly in her car at the corner, watching me smile again. For the first time, she felt what it was like to fight beside me, not against me. Leo stood proudly on his stool, announcing to the crowd, "If you mess with my dad, you'll have to deal with my mom and my future stepmoms too." The crowd burst into laughter. After that, Catherine changed. No more flashy gestures. She'd just show up, wait in line, and sometimes help with small things. We didn't talk much, but the tension was gone. Life finally felt peaceful until disaster struck again. One night, Leo woke up screaming, pale and in pain. I rushed him to the hospital, panic in my chest. While juggling the paperwork and his I called Catherine without thinking. She picked up immediately. "Hello?" Her voice was sleepy. "Leo's sick. We're at Mount C." I said. Before I could say another word, she hung up. Less than 20 minutes later, the sound of heels echoed down the corridor. Catherine appeared in silk pajamas, a trench coat thrown over them, her hair a mess, and face pale. She rushed toward us, eyes going straight to Leo, who was barely awake under the drip. Her eyes filled with tears. She reached out to touch his forehead but stopped halfway, her hand trembling in the air. Catherine was completely lost. "What happened? Should we move him to a private hospital? I'll get the best pediatric specialist in the city on the phone right now." It was the only way she knew how to help, by fixing things with money and power. Leo whimpered in his sleep. "Chloe, Mama Chloe." My heart twisted painfully at the sound. Taking a deep breath, I called Chloe. She arrived quickly, calm, and focused. Without hesitation, she soaked a washcloth in cool water and gently pressed it to Leo's forehead and hands. She sat beside him, holding his tiny hand and whispering a story in her soft, soothing voice. Slowly, the tension faded from his face, and he fell into a peaceful sleep the whole time.
Yes.
Catherine stood there helpless, watching Chloe's quiet skill and warmth. Compared to her own panicked confusion, Chloe seemed effortless. A wave of inadequacy washed over her. She could run a global company with 10,000 employees, but she didn't know what to do when her own son had a fever. I watched everything, torn between pity, anger, and something deeper. I saw the fear and love in Catherine's eyes, but also her failure as a mother. Every effort she'd made to help us had been real. So was the pain she'd caused. When Leo's fever finally broke, Chloe quietly gathered her things and left for her morning shift. The hallway grew still again, leaving just me and Catherine standing in the dim fluorescent light. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic. After a long silence, Catherine spoke, her voice hoarse. "I'm sorry," I didn't answer. She turned away, staring at the dark window at the end of the corridor. "I was raised to be a successor, not a person," she said flatly. "I wasn't allowed to have hobbies or friends or any emotions that could cloud my judgment. Everyone told me I had to be cold to be strong. Marrying Hewitt was my grandfather's idea to secure stock options. From the beginning, I looked down on you. And when Marcus Thorne lied about you, I believed him because it was easier than believing I was wrong." Her voice trembled. "I don't know how to love someone, and I have no idea how to be a mother. When I threw you out, I thought I was solving a problem. But every night, I came home to that empty house, and Leo never called me mommy again. I realized the only thing I'd gotten rid of was my family." Her shoulders started to shake. "Seeing you happy with him at that little cart, hearing him call another woman, oh, Mom, I was so jealous, I thought I'd go crazy." She finally turned toward me. Her eyes were red, brimming with tears she refused to let fall. It was the first time I had ever seen her vulnerable. "Ethan, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just need you to know that I was wrong, completely, utterly wrong." Her cheeks ached. The cold, untouchable woman I remembered seemed to fade, replaced by the broken person standing before me. After a long pause, I reached into my pocket, pulled out a tissue, and handed it to her. "Wipe your face. You don't want Leo to see you like this tomorrow. He'll think you were cutting onions again." She stared at me, then took the tissue with her head bowed. A single hot tear slipped from her eye and landed on the back of my hand. The next morning, Leo woke up blinking at the two adults sitting by his bed, both with dark circles under their eyes. "Daddy, troublemaker. Why are you both here?" For the first time I could remember, Catherine blushed. When we were discharged, she instinctively reached for Leo's hand, but he flinched away, hiding behind my leg and watching her cautiously. Her hand hung awkwardly in the air. I crouched down to Leo's level. "Leo," I said seriously, "Dad has decided to give Miss Sterling here a chance." Leo tilted his head, confused. "Starting today," I continued, "she's going to be our mom in training. She has to pass a few tests before she gets the official job. Band, you're the judge." Catherine's eyes widened in disbelief, then filled with hope. "I accept," she said quickly. "I accept the challenge." Leo crossed his arms, pretending to be a little executive. "All right then, mom in training. Your first assignment, make me dinner when we get home. It doesn't have to be amazing, but it cannot be gross. Got it?" A flicker of panic crossed Catherine's face, but she straightened her shoulders. "Mission accepted." I couldn't help but smile. "By the way," I added, "I've got a test for you too. Just one." She looked at me nervously. "What is it?" "You pass," I said, "when you can smile, Evan, when there aren't any onions around." She looked at me, then at Leo's serious little face. And there, in the soft morning light streaming through the hospital window, something inside her finally cracked open. Her lips trembled, then curved into a small, uncertain smile. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And I knew right then our story wasn't ending. It was just beginning.